All right. Sometimes I get projects from people that they might have not have their exact address, or maybe it's in a county and an address is not assigned until a permit is issued, and they're looking for a contract from me, but I don't know where the property is, and let's just say it's out of state, and I have to go talk to the building department for the local jurisdiction because I have no idea what the requirements are. I don't even know what the design criteria are. And not everybody's familiar with what design criteria is, but it's part of the code. And to demonstrate that, if I like open up my code, well, let's see. I am in International Building Code. For residential, a lot of people I deal with are residential. I want to go, let's just go into my code books. It's all you really need to know is, and you can look this up for free. It's R301.2 in 2021. So this is my 2021 IRC, or what I've got kind of collaborated into my OneNote. And so I do keep information here because I find it easier to search this way. But it's got stuff like the ground snow, the wind snow load, topographical effects, all the stuff that the building department, and here's these little letters that are in here. They mean stuff, and they're supposed to be, actually, if I were to do this correctly, that would be an O, and then I would come in and say, hey, home, this needs to be superscript. So I'd fix that on all those. But the O, then I'd come down here to O and see jurisdiction shall fill in this section of the table using ground snow loads. And then there's figures for the different types, wind, ground, seismic, all that sort of stuff that are in the code book. And so the jurisdiction is supposed to give you this stuff. And in order to obtain some of this stuff, I can do so. If you're not gathering, in fact, I really like to do it myself because then I'm getting sort of a first person. So let's just go way out there. And let's say that I've got a project coming up in Newport, New Hampshire. So NH. And I don't know, never been there. Don't know much about it, but I might offer this in Google Maps to my my potential client and say, hey, can you find on here your property? And they may find some landmarks that get them close. They're like, oh, I kind of think it's over here. Sometimes coming down here and hitting this satellite button. Let me turn on my highlighter. Okay, there's my highlighter. So this guy down here in the bottom left-hand corner, if you click that to satellite, sometimes it'll help you if you are familiar with the area of narrowing in on stuff by not just looking at roads, but being able to actually see features. And you can really come in on this. But here's the key. Let's just say that we just bought this lot here. Or more realistically, we bought this one over here. These might have addresses already. I don't know. So we bought this one here. And being that this was the subdivision, this was not yet included, it didn't have an address. And let's say there wasn't even a road name. But you wanted to tell me where it is. If you click right there, it's going to pop this little window up. And there are the latitude and longitude of that pinpoint. And so I would suggest when trying to locate that is say, you know what? I really want to build my house. So I'm going to cut these trees down and I want to look at this clearing that's natural right here. So I'm going to put the center of my house right here. And then the front will be there, that sort of thing. And you can see the size of these houses. I probably went back a little far. I'm pretty zoomed out. But nonetheless, then you've got this information. You can write that down. It's a little hard to, I have been able to highlight it before, but boy, it can be tough. Trying to grab that sucker. So maybe from the back. No, I'm not able to grab it. So I'll just type it in, send it to me in an email, and now I know where you're considering putting your house. So let's say I've got a project that's going to be out in New Hampshire, and I have got the ability to design currently in Montana, in Oregon, in Washington, and in California with my certification. However, to design in New Hampshire, I need to get contact NIBD, which I have sent out an email to my rep, and AIBD, my rep there, and I just haven't heard the reply. Probably will on Monday. He's very prompt about getting back to me. And then I also need to, once I know, I guess, if we are really dealing with this area, let's say this is the town of Newport and we're building out in the county, there may be a completely separate jurisdiction for the city of Newport than there is for the county area, county seat. And, or like where I live, which is Butte, Silver Bow, it's one jurisdiction. The county and the city are one jurisdiction. And so I can call up one place. But once I've talked to the county or the city, whichever this property happens to fall in, because let's just say they told me that they were going to be here. They didn't have an address yet. I made the assumption they were in the county, but truly they were in city limits. Well, then I'd need to contact the city and say, okay, what are your requirements? And maybe jump on their website. And sometimes if they're organized, they have a checklist. If they're not, they can have very little information to go on. So then I will contact the city itself, worst case, and say, I need to know what's required for a residential building permit, and then discuss with them. Let's say it's a more complex project, and we've got a timber frame is the thing that's being considered. So timber frames have special case where you have joinery, and joinery is not easily engineered. Is it just a fabulous way to build? Yes, it's very strong. And then we got to find out the seismic zone, that sort of thing. And then find out if wherever, city or county, that this property lands in, if that piece is going to require the stamp of a PE or a professional engineer. In this case, that would mean a structural engineer. Now, in certain areas, let's say I was designing over in Gilbert, Arizona. The requirements in Gilbert, Arizona, I've been 25 years there, so I'm very familiar. And if I want to do anything in Gilbert, and I pick a lot, let's say I can find, if I can find one that's empty, there we go. We buy this lot. We want to build on it. If this is Gilbert, I have to hire a civil engineer to do a grading and drainage plan, because when it rains in Arizona, it can come down in buckets. And so we put up a new house here, and the water's flowing naturally this way, let's say, and this new house creates a big flood around it. There happens to be, let's say, this dark spot here. This dark spot's a swale. And all of a sudden, boom, because we put a house here, we gathered the water, and it goes shooting in here, and it floods this guy out. Now we got a lawsuit on our hands. So in Gilbert, they require a civil engineer. So I'm just kind of showing some extreme cases, because when I go to different areas that I'm not familiar with, I don't know what to expect. And so I need to speak to the jurisdiction and then find out what they require, and then see if I need to get a PE. And if I need a PE for Arizona, I worked there for 25 years. No plenty. If I need to go back to Newport in New Hampshire, then I've got a whole different case on my hands because I've never done any work out in New Hampshire. And so I need to look on the web, find a few different PEs, and see who, I mean, most people are busier than heck. Find out what their timeline is, tell them about the project. I have to give them a scope of work because they're going to send me what their estimate is if to stamp the plans. And then we have to decide how we're going to work together because now I'm establishing a new relationship with a structural engineer that's in Newport, where with different structural engineers that I've worked with in the past, especially one in particular, Dimitri Wright, who I can work the tri-state area with, and he could probably pretty easily get his reciprocity back to Arizona if we needed to down there. He and I have been working together since we met in school in 1990. So extremely familiar. I know exactly what he wants, and I actually do all of the drawings for him. Do a lot of even some of the design work for him, and then I send it out, and I'll send him charts, the drawings, and he fills in the values in those charts. And if we have a situation such as, let's say we have a retaining wall situation, and if I pause here, I'm going to bring up a drawing to show you what I'm talking about. So this is a current commercial project. We've got a shop, adding some offices to it. And we've got an elevation that's going here. And to protect the privacy of the owner, I have got the title block kind of cut off here. And then what we have is the elevations, but it's the rear elevation where this is the existing shop. At this point, we have retaining, and then this point we have retaining, and then this point a little lower retaining. Now, 4 foot, we start getting into a totally different standard than a 6 or an 8. And so if I were to go back to that's the section drawings, a lot of detail in the section drawing. So this elevation. So here's my different retaining walls. And so they have different rebar. They have different footing widths for the different heights and different values of dirt that we're holding back. And this is a particular situation where I've got a slab on grade on the other side. Everything's different. So when I get into retaining walls that are not within the prescriptive code, then I need to get the stamp from Dimitri on those walls. I drew all of this, so I draw it up for him, and then he stamps it. Same sort of thing here. I draw all of the, in this case, we are looking at the foundation plan. This is the framing plan. We're right now discussing possibly pulling out a truss or two. And then I put in these detail bubbles. And if you see, these ones have numbers because I've referenced them to that foundation details. But these don't have numbers yet. And then this one, I don't have a header size. So there'd be a header chart. And so it'll say H01, for instance. And in there, Dimitri or whatever PE I'm working with will fill in the size for that member. And we're off and running. So this isn't much here, but I do have a window that's over here where I've got bearings. So this is a same size opening, but a much weightier condition because this has got stuff sitting on it where this doesn't have much. There's just the half of this roof because the other half's sitting on a beam out here at the edge, or actually a truss in this case. And then we have little tiny beams, one there, and one there. And so I've got one labeled, and I need to label these two because this one in the middle is carrying two different sides where each of these are only carrying one side, so they're going to be different. So that's kind of just a quick synopsis of why I want to go through things properly, and then I'll understand what I'm going to be required to do, and then I can put together a contract. And so I just happen to have, this is also the questionnaire that I send out. Asks a bunch of questions, and there's stuff pertaining a little bit to how you live, and then what you're after, and then we get into some detail. A lot of this stuff, if you're gonna want an alarm system, yeah, throw it in there. If you don't, you could probably leave it blank. I know that if it's blank, we're not considering it. So um, this is just to make sure that I don't forget anything. So there's a lot of questions in here, and there are 8 pages in all. This is a great example because I actually, this is somebody I know personally, so they didn't have to fill this out. I don't have to give up their personal contact information. So at any rate, just wanted you to kind of get a taste for how to get things started, and especially in areas that are either out in a county where I don't have an address, and how you can help me get things started by pointing out a few things, and then also showing you a little bit about what I need to do when it's out of state. So this is Mark from Not Square Design, and there is my old phone number, so that won't do you any good. But you can find my new one on my website, which is thereits.us, or you can email me, mark@naughtystudios.com. It's KNOTTYSTUDIOS if you can't read that. And I'll talk to you again. Thanks for stopping by. And if you get anything out of this, please like or subscribe. It's what keeps me making these videos, knowing people are out there and that are watching it. Thank you. Bye.